My father was unable to hold a job for very long. He would take out his anger a lot at home on my mother and me and my siblings. The physical discipline got worse and worse. Things just got increasingly fundamental and radical and strict and hopeless and violent. By the time I was 15, the state finally caught up with him, and Child Protective Services was finally able to get in and intervene and see what was going on. Months of court battles ensued. It was a very bad situation. There was a moment where I was talking to a public defender and the child advocate said I wasn't going to testify against my parents because I was scared to have to go back, but I wanted to be out. And one of the lawyers at one point was like, if you do not talk to us, we can't get you out. And I said, look, okay, here's how it's going to have to be. If I talk to you, I can't go back there, because if I tell you everything and I go back, someone's going to die. I don't know if it's going to be me. I don't know if it's going to be them. That can't happen. That is not a situation that can possibly happen. So if I talk to you, if I tell you everything that happened, I need to never go back there. That was such a huge moment. That's when I said, all right, well, I'm going to try to get out. Here goes. And I did get out, and they have not been my legal custodian parents since I was 15. I bounced from them to some middle school teacher of mine who let me crash with them for a little bit. Then I got in trouble with the police. So I was flown across the country to live with someone else. Then they kicked me out because I was stealing from someone. So I went to live with a grandma and grandpa, and then my grandpa died. So I went to live somewhere else. Those years were just tremendously unstable. I had tremendous issues because there's just not that much support for someone who was a ward of the court. My parents didn't have guardianship, but really no one had guardianship except intermittently, which also meant there wasn't money from the state for me. There was just couches and shoplifting for my clothes. I have like 2 pairs of clothing. I sold food. I sold clothes. I sold makeup because I had literally nothing. I had nothing. I had no way to make money. I was desperate. I had no means. I had nothing until I was old enough to get a job of my own, which was also hard because in very complicated battles, my biological father stole all of my identifying documents and wouldn't give them to me. So I had no identity federally. It was messy. It was really messy and really painful. And he made it worse. For years, I was no one. I had nothing. I had no ID. I had no federal presence. I had no healthcare. Even when I was doing really bad in high school, I was sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night. I was self-harming. I was chugging vodka at 15 and stealing. I still got straight A's. And I think that my teachers would have been very surprised actually to learn everything else I was dealing with as a human, because I think in school I covered up really well, but I had a lot of mental health issues, a really severe eating disorder, which I think is another manifestation of that locus of control with very little under my control in life. I was anorexic at first, but then I lost my period. I started having some really significant health issues from that. So I became bulimic because I'd be like, oh, I'm going to eat. But then I would just have these horrible, guilty struggles after. So I would throw up. But then my heart started having arrhythmias and I started losing the lining of my teeth and I started having scars on my fingers. So then I just struggled with binge eating disorder because I still needed this comfort and this control in this eating. I also struggled significantly with self-harm, which the research does show it is a dopaminergic addiction style behavior that people who are in trauma and painful situations without a lot of ways to cope, that's one of the things that they can turn to that really does provide this endorphin-laden release and this dopamine. For me, it wasn't suicidal self-harming. I wasn't trying to die. It was just this very addictive habit where it was a way for me to feel pain, release pain, and feel dopamine in the way that I was controlling. That was tough to stop. That was not a great place to have to come back from.